Welcome. So as you just heard, 30 years I'm doing tech. 20 years I'm doing startups. I'm speaking on conferences all around the world. It's my fourth time on Bits and Pretzels, actually. I spoke about how to build an MVP, how to do kick-ass, rockstar tech teams, how to move forward. And the interesting thing is, always I get the same questions. You guys always have the same problems, and it doesn't change. I thought like, okay, after the 10th talk, things changed, but no, it's always the same. So I thought, let's do a little bit of a different talk, and I want to share today with you examples out of my decades of startups which I've met who didn't work out. So because I strongly believe that we can learn from mistakes. And we all do mistakes, including me, unfortunately. I think it's the most mistakes. So anyway, so Lars Jankowfsky, NFQ Asia, and let's start. If it works. All right. One of the talks I've given here is about MVP. I will not repeat what I said there. So no worries, something new. The interesting thing is, twice a month people come to me and say, Lars, I need an MVP. I need it in 4 weeks. Ha 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 ha. Okay, I was joking, it's only 2 months. And I'm like, and then they want to know, how long do you need and how much does it cost? And I'm like, well, it depends what you have to do. But actually the interesting thing is like most of the startups I've met, there seems to be a sort of a golden rule. It's like people have around $30,000 to $50,000 to spend for an MVP. It's always like that. And the question is, what can you get done for that amount of money? And that's also how you should think. So you should focus a little bit about what can I get and what is important. One of the lessons of my MVP talk, and I mean the main lesson was, MVP means minimum viable product, and there is the word minimum. And I meet founders, and they say, like, I want an MVP, and I said, okay, you come over, we do a workshop, we sit together, and we discuss what your needs, and then it turns out it's not a minimum, they want a maximum viable product for the 30,000. And for sure, that doesn't work. And if you try to squeeze that in with whomever you're working, and it doesn't matter if it's a freelancer, it's your tech co-founder, it's an agency, it doesn't matter, it never works. You really need to focus on what is it, what you really need, what it is that your customers need, and that has to work. Everything else, just don't do it. And you can fake things. You can work with interns who manually hack stuff. I've met a startup once. They had an AI-driven business which optimizes Facebook ads, social ads over different countries. And they said, like, the promise, like, we have an AI and our engine improves your ROI because you can't use the same ad in different countries, and we optimize it for it. And what they did, for sure there was no AI, they had interns. They were sitting there manually and doing it. And then they could prove it worked, and they had a nice traction, and they could raise money. That's how it works, guys. Don't laugh. Because if you would really develop an AI, that would be years of work and millions of US dollars, and you don't have that. You have a new idea, and you believe in your idea. So fake it, and then make it, and then let's go for the money and make it real and good. And if you wonder, I'm not having my speech here. I have so many examples. I'm always thinking about what I need to come up to. So it's a little bit slow. You know, you press, and then you have like 2-3 seconds to think about why it's not working, and that works. All right. Tech. I've been speaking about tech so many times. That's because I'm a tech guy, it's my favorite topic. All the engineers want to use the newest and fancy tech. all of them. And it doesn't matter which country on earth. I'm based now in Asia, I'm German, I used to run one of the biggest travel companies in the US, so I think I can talk about global community. They all want to work with the fancy shit. But that is not necessarily what you need, because you're a founder. For you, it's important that your needs are delivered, that you get for the minimum amount of money, the maximum output, what the coders can deliver, and that works, and that your vision and your dream can come true. But you need to keep in mind, that's not what engineers want. Engineers are quite the other way around. They just start like, oh my God, I've been doing the last 15 years PHP, and I just read an article about that new cool tech. I'm going to suggest we do that. So we had an example. I'm not naming and shaming any words, so you will not hear any names of startups here, but there was a startup, a well-known startup. The whole tech stack was built on PHP. They had a team of 15 engineers, developed 2 years, and then the lead engineer thought, well, let's do Node.js, because I want to do Node.js. So he wrote a very, very fancy suggestion to the board of managers, where he wrote all the reasons why it's a good idea to do Node.js. He didn't send it to me, only to the managers. And he let out all the disadvantages. For example, the disadvantage, there are 15 people who have no idea of Node.js. But I mean, for sure, they all want to learn Node.js on your purse. So that is something you need to understand. 4 years ago, here on the Bits and Pretzels, a startup approached me. They were a fintech startup. They process invoices. And they chose Mosaic as a tech stack. Mosaic is a JavaScript language. I won't go too much techy, but JavaScript, you all know, that was invented to make your websites fancy and things are moving. And nowadays, it can be also used on the server side, but it can. It doesn't mean it must. And if you parse invoices, you can use JavaScript, but is it the best idea? Not necessarily. And Mosaic at this time was super, super, super new, and for sure it didn't work. And I told them, guys, you should reconsider. And they said, nah, we already committed, and so on. And 2 years later, I met them again here on Bits and Pretzels, said like, man, we nearly died. We lost 1.5 years because it just didn't work. And I mean, they made it. Well, I hope so. I haven't met them this year, so maybe they're still around. I don't know. But it's not necessarily a good idea to use the most fancy tech. Same goes for Node.js. Node.js right now is super, super hipster technology. I see a huge movement towards Node.js. It's again JavaScript in the backend. But keep in mind, if your engineers tell you, let's use Node.js, it might be a good idea. There's absolutely use cases. You will not hear from me that this is a bad idea. But if they will tell you, let's use Node.js, you keep in mind that the inventor of Node.js, 2018, he said it was a huge mistake. You shouldn't use Node.js. You should something else, because he invented something even newer and better. Is it good, or does it mean Node.js is bad? No, but you need to think what you need and what it means for you. In the end, you know, it's about the people. And there are exactly 3 technologies on Earth where you have a decent amount of engineers. That is C, C#, C++, and all dialects. That is .NET, that is PHP and Java. You always get engineers for these tech stacks in huge amounts everywhere. And that is good for hiring. Doesn't matter where you are. All other technologies are, depending on the tech stack, more rare. So that doesn't matter if you want to do your startup and you only look for 1, 2, 3 engineers. That's cool. You will always find people who can do that. But if you want to do that for, let's say, you're the next unicorn and you want to go Zalando size, 1,000 plus engineers, and then you're on a tech stack which nobody knows, not necessarily a good idea. I've been interviewing a CTO here in in Germany, in Berlin actually, based. And he told me he is using Elixir for his travel startup. And Elixir is a tech stack based on Erlang. Erlang is a software which has been invented by Sony Ericsson that might be even older than me, and I'm old. So, and it actually has been done to roll out updates to telephone systems. And it's a super cool technology for certain use cases. But is it good for a travel tech startup? Maybe, maybe not. But one thing I know for sure, there are exactly 40 Elixir engineers in Berlin. That's it. That's the whole community. I'm not kidding you. Yeah? So if you want to hire, well, you have a pool of 40. The good news is, and I don't want to be too negative, because he told me, look, these 40, they helped each other tremendously, and there was a huge support from the community, I mean from these 40 peoples. So you can do that, but if you keep in mind, okay, one day I will be successful, then one day you need 20, 30, 100, 200 engineers. You just don't do that. It's not a good idea. I've been running on Facebook actually a big post where I asked my friends, and I have some friends at Booking.com, and they told me like, yeah, well, they did run on Perl, and Booking is super, super, super massive, and they just didn't get any engineers anymore. No chance. One of the topics I've been asked more often is, how do I find a co-founder? So many guys of you are consultants. Are there any consultants here, or ex-consultants? Can you raise your hand? Oh, not so many. Or the others feel a little bit ashamed or fell asleep. So you guys, the consultants, they come to me and they say like, I have a super good idea, I will get an investment, but I have no idea of tech, and I would like to find a tech co-founder. How can I find a tech co-founder? If you want to have fun, you should go to the job portals and look for the job ads for tech co-founder. There are hundreds, and they all are different. Because the interesting thing is that tech co-founder is a very broad experience. We go from, well, I'm a founder, I want to look for a programmer because I don't have money, and I want to find someone I can talk to build my MVP for nothing, and he will get share, or she. Towards, I need someone really, really, really good who can help me grow my team because I already have funding, and I need someone to bootstrap or supercharge my software development. So it's right. So you need to be clear what you need, because the roles are also different. One of the talks also from my past, and you can look it up, it's on YouTube, is about the differences between what is a co-founder or a CTO, and what are the different roles. Because in the early stage of a startup, it's actually the person most likely who codes the MVP and the first version. But as you grow, the tasks change. Like you get seed investment, so you don't have 2 engineers, you need to hire 3 more. So suddenly you have a team of 5. We're talking about people skills. Can that person hire the people, manage the team? Yeah? Let's say you raise Series A, you're even more successful. You suddenly have 30 engineers. We're talking about software architecture. We're talking about processes. We're talking about tools. And then if you're super successful, suddenly that person is the CTO, and that person needs to talk to investors and need to explain to investors why your tech startup is the most awesome, newest shit on earth, and why they need to invest billions in your startup. And so if you hire your first tech co-founder, you need to be clear, is that the person who can grow with me? And if you believe that, perfect. If not, you need to be really clear also about the roles, and later. There's a Berlin-based startup not naming, but you all know them. They had a co-founder, and the founder came to me and said, Lars, can you please help me? My co-founder is not the person we can grow further. They were post-Series A, very successful, and the co-founder just wasn't the material to grow further. But huge ego, don't want to step back. Super difficult situation that can risk your startup. That's really, really difficult. There's another example, a positive example, a rocket-based startup, also quite big, and the founding CTO realized later in life, in the later stage, that this is not what he want to do. He want to focus on tech, so he stepped back and said like, okay, my new title is founding CTO, and they hired a professional CTO, and everybody was happy. But for doing that, the founder really need to have a good grip on his or her ego. Because for sure, titles are important, and suddenly I'm not the founder anymore, I'm not the CTO anymore, and there's another CTO. So that's really, really difficult. Oh my God, I could talk hours about that topic. I've been joining a startup as an interim CTO, and they did build their own accounting software. I was asking, to be clear, it was not an accounting software startup. So I was like, why? And then they told me, well, there is no accounting software which is really good for us, so we thought we'd do it ourselves because nothing out there in the market fits our needs. Anyone here who had heard something like that? Yeah, I think so. So it's not, well, you can build your software, but you need to keep in mind that every hour of brain is not going into what makes you really successful. So if you build your accounting software, okay, if you're an accounting software startup, just don't do it if it's something else. And to be honest, my own startup, NFQ Asia, I recently discovered that we built our own HR software. I'm like, why? And they're like, well, you know, we tried all the HR softwares and none of them did fit our needs, so we decided to build it ourselves. I'm like, oh my God. And that just sneaked in. So now we have a super good HR software, but we are not an HR software company. So talking about failures, we do the same. And yes, there are really, really, really good startups out there for HR software. And they have like 20, 50, 100 of engineers who improve the software, so they will be always better than what you are doing. Don't believe it, just don't do it. And I just mentioned that I did this post, and one of the guys, also a quite big e-commerce startup, he said, well, one of my biggest mistakes as an e-commerce startup was I thought that I need to do my own online shopping software, because having the better online shopping software than everybody else is super important, and that was one of my biggest mistakes, because as an online seller, you need to focus on access to good products, margins, customer experience, customer support, super quick delivery. This is where you can be different. Unless you're Amazon or Zalando or maybe About You, then it might be different. But as long as you are not there, don't think, oh, there are online shop software vendors and they have hundreds of engineers and they will do a much better job than you ever can do. Team, I need to be quick. I hope I don't have so much time anymore. And this is actually the biggest part, the people. Oh my God. Okay, let's make it quick. I have one startup right now. They have a founding CTO who is a freelancer. He has 1 hour per day maximum to build a startup and to help them. And he chose a very fancy Ruby on Rails technology, which is super difficult to get. Is it a good idea? No, don't do that. Don't bring yourself in that situation. Another pattern I have seen, and I've been personally sitting in board meetings, you have investors who believe they know your business better than you. And the investors will tell you, I'm somebody like Steve Jobs, you know, because I have a company with this 1,500 people and I earn billions of dollars with my machines, and that is why I know more about your online startup. And you need to change your business model from listing fee to CPO. I've been there, that happened, and that nearly killed the company. And I see Miriam already getting ready. Shit. I thought we have so much time, so let's skip. Another startup, and I need to tell that, I'm sorry, they said to my team, we need to have the first version of the software till Noah, and that's 3 months' time, because if we don't have it till Noah, we will die. So we worked our ass off, night shifts, and the team, for sure, they hacked. Not a good quality. And after 3 months, they were there. And we said, OK, now can we clean up? And then the founder said, no, I'm sorry. I know you need to clean up, but you have a week to clean up, and then we need premium payment plan and payment for the next 3 months. Otherwise, we are going to die. You see the pattern? It continue. And yesterday, you heard Ray Hoffman talking about technical debt. The technical debt is huge, and that need to be worked out, super difficult. So don't do that. I've been in another startup where the founder said to the software engineer, you, and he used the German C, you are not here to think. You are here to do exactly as I say. Is that a good and smart idea? No. Give me 30 seconds, okay? Yeah. So I have one more slide. Can I have it back? They're really brutal, the guys over there. It's like unbelievable. I need to book a negotiation. Yeah, not the last one. That one, yes. That is, if I can give you one lesson, if in doubt, don't. Just don't do it. 2 examples. I had a guy, I know him since 10 years. I knew he had issues. I hired him. It was a big mistake. I lost $250,000. This year, in January, I had a customer because he didn't pay me $250,000, and he stole 20 million from his users. And I knew him since 1 year, and since 1 year I had doubts about the guy, and I knew something fishy. But my team said like, oh, I want money, I want him, let's work for him. And $250,000, that was a huge loss. So please, you can forget everything I said, you shouldn't, but please, if in doubt, don't. That lesson is super important, and I violate it all the time, and I always could bite myself in my back. So.
Thank you. You're going to stay there. Have a seat. So Lars, you're obviously great at playing those people who think they know it all. And it's very nice to see, and a big relief that even though that you are acting as an advisor, you don't think you know it all. That helps, right? Working with you as a founder and knowing, okay, we are actually collaboratively figuring it out. So one thing that that is so tough about being a CTO or running a company and a startup from the technical side is, as you mentioned, number one, you have to take the right technical decisions that work for early stage and then still work when you grow. And you shouldn't fall in love with any language that no one else speaks. And yet, you also need to balance this constant battle between optimizing and getting rid of all those errors that you coded in while being under stress, and yet growing and developing the product. And you also need to be the good communicator, because at some point you actually need to explain to an angel investor or a VC what your product is capable of. So from my perspective, I mean, I've not done anything else but running tech startups. But to find the right CTOs or head of or C product, however you're going to label them, was one of the toughest jobs I could do. So, and you just closed your speech with the fact that, okay, if you have a gut feeling that something is wrong, you just shouldn't go for that person. So knowing how difficult it is and what a crazy amount of skills that person needs to have, what sort of signs can we listen for when you're standing in front of us and telling us they're the right ones?
That's a good feeling. How? So you want the definition of a gut feeling now from me?
Well, your gut feeling in this context.
Yeah, my gut feeling. So let me rephrase it. If I can give you one advice is be clear about your title. Don't hire a CTO if you need a software developer, and don't hire a CTO if you need a head of software development. Because if you give the people clear titles, and then they can grow, which is perfect, and they should, but if they don't, you still can hire someone over them without them being angry. But if you call someone CTO, and then you realize, oh shit, it's more like a developer, not a CTO, and then you hire a CTO, you have a problem, and then we have the ego thing again. Yes.
Do you have a big ego?
Oh, I'm only ego.
Oh, that's okay.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But I learned my lesson. Life punched me in my face so many times that I have a good grip on it.
You get more humble over time?
Yes.
Good to know. So let's have a look at the questions, okay? What criteria would you recommend looking at the question, build tech in-house or outsource? Well, that always depends on the context. But is there actually an answer to this?
Oh my God, I'm a little bit biased because that's my job to provide outsourcing, but to be honest, I would not suggest someone to build a startup and have an in-house team in Europe, or let's say in Germany, because it's super, super expensive, and in the end, all the advantages you think you have, like for example, one language, everybody in one room, go to Berlin, you have like 20 nationalities in your software development team, and
which is great,
but it's the same like outsourcing. So it's super difficult, and then it's a matter of money. So the criteria is, can you afford it, and can you attract tech talent? Because if you, well, I'm an advisor in a super cool startup right now, and they scored 6 million seed funding, and they are super popular, so they can attract amazing tech talent in-house.
Okay, so if the engineering market just doesn't like you yet that much because you're not famous, big enough, cool enough, whatever, you should probably outsource?
With the right partner, yes. But also it's difficult. It's not an easy decision.
We're not here on this stage to give easy answers. Yeah. Come on. So, what should we do?
So if you don't have money, you're not cool, you will not attract good tech talent unless you overpay. That's a fact. Period. So go, then rather build your tech team somewhere else, but make sure that you have a good grip on the tech and a team, and you can acquire and in-source it later. So don't give your IP away, but make a contract where you have like a pull option where you can later say, okay, let's say I raise Series B, then I can pay amount X and I get the team because these engineers help me to be great. That's what I would advise. Okay,
to elaborate on a follow-up question here that was raised in the sense of, should I go for a tech team that might not be in my city? I had tech teams in Romania, for example, for a while, which can be a challenge to manage them. So if you would compare, if you're not yet also funded in a way that you can hire the best engineers yourself, should you rather go to a country where it might be cheaper, or should you rather go for an external team?
The thing is, I see the wages adopt all around the world. So there are still countries which are much cheaper, countries who are in trouble. Like Portugal has been super cheap a couple of years ago, but already like shrinking. Right now I hear that Kenya is super cheap and really, really good tech talent. But speaking of my experience, Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine, Vietnam, where I am, Singapore, all these people don't earn much less than a German engineer. It's still cheaper because of the tax, but it's not that much cheaper. So slaves like 20–30%. It's not like you can't expect good software engineers.
So in case I have a remote team, what is important in the way how I lead them and manage them?
You need to spend time with them and be there.
On site?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And you need to have someone to be there. And that is one of the most common mistakes, that people think like, okay, I have my tech team somewhere and they will handle it, and they never go there. In the end, they are all human beings. And you need to be aware, it doesn't matter if in Romania, Bulgaria, Vietnam, all the engineers have a new job in the next week if they want. And they get called by the headhunter all the time. And you want them to give their soul and their heart into your startup. So you need to spend time with them and embrace them in your culture and make them part of your team. It doesn't matter where they are.
I think this leads us to the next question, which is also sort of a summing up question. So how do I move fast, which is the title of this year's content from your side. You elaborated a lot on what you can do wrong.
Yep.
So
well, I spoke about how you do it right the last 4 years, and I still hear the same question. So that's why I want to elaborate. So you could look it up on YouTube. But again, know what you want. Focus on the really, really important things in your product. Don't overdo it, and always have the customer in mind, because that is like the most important thing. And then treat your people good and make them work their ass off because they like you and believe in your vision and mission. And it doesn't matter if they're in-house or external, it doesn't matter.
So to gain your support, right, and to manage to kind of, get your soul and heart and committed as a founder, what do founders need to do?
To get my support?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's super difficult.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, well, I got asked like once a week or something. I've took one board position in the last 3 years. And because I really love these guys. So I need to love them.
What does make you love guys?
I believe in the vision, I believe in the team. And I believe also that I can actually add something valuable.
Okay.
That is.
Okay, as this is about impact, I always need to raise that question because no one starts talking about it on his own. Have you done any investments in impact-heavy tech startups?
I'm not doing any investment. I just got divorced 3 days ago, so that's my biggest investment over the last 20 years. I'm sorry.
Will that change?
Yes, I would love to.
Will that change?
Well, it depends if I make my money back, which I lost. So if I have money, yes, I definitely will invest.
How much?
To be clear. I'm more the person who invests like 50 or 100K.
Okay, so early stage impact tech startups. This is
yes.
to go as soon as he has his money back. Okay, thank you so
much.
Lars.